There we go.
There it's going. All right, everyone. Welcome to Aspen Inside Scoop for 2602. We're really excited about this release. As always, there's a lot of good things. And I'd like to start out just by thanking all of the developers that contributed, as well as they're not credited down here yet, but all of the people that are doing testing and documentation throughout the next couple of weeks as we prepare 2602 for release. I counted up, we had 11 developers for this release from the community. And we had this time 6 developers from Grove, which is 2 more or 3 more than you might have seen. So Miranda did some development for us this time, and we'll show that later. And then Mark Jarrell is working with us, and Stephen Wicks is doing an internship with us and is starting to contribute some code. So really exciting to be growing the community of developers that we have. And without further ado, we'll jump into some of the developments. I'm going to go through really mostly the stuff that Grove did. There's other stuff in there. Some of it I can demo, some of it I can't, just because of not having keys and that kind of thing. So for the most part, this is Grove, and we'll go through and talk about all of the good stuff that we're doing. So we're going to start with DIS 886. And this is work sponsored by Gail Borden to update the home screen. So if we go to, we go into Aspen, we now have the home screen link groups under Aspen LiDA. I'm going to create a new one. And we're going to call this Aspen. And from here, we can add some links. So I've got a couple that I created. So Aspen documentation, I created one for just Grove. We can pick which library it is. Before I start that, though, I'm going to go back and show you LiDA. So this is LiDA just in my emulator. So here we have LiDA. This is the traditional homepage. If you do not have any home screen links set up, it's just going to display just the browse category. So just like we've always done. So swapping back over to Discovery. So here we've got that set up. We've got documentation. We've got Grove. So those are 2 that I had created. I'm going to add another link as well. So let's go back into home screen links. And we're going to add a new one. We're going to just call this Jira. So within this, we give it a title. We give it a text ID, similar to how we do browse categories, just a way to kind of disambiguate things. We can choose sharing, like we've done in a bunch of places. If it is shared with a selected library, which library is it shared with, or we can make it available to everyone. Then we can either upload a specific icon, or we can use a material icon. So if we choose material icon, then we get a prompt for the Google material icon name. These are all freely available. If we click the information, it's going to open a new tab where we can pick and choose from that and search. I did some playing, and I'm going to use the assignment that felt, I'm going to use task, actually. That looks better to me than the assignment. So we're going to call this task. And then we can choose to either go to a specific location in the app, and if so, we can choose. So we can go to a specific search. We can do a user, like link to someplace within the user. Whatever you can do. This is the same as you can do for notifications. or we can say go to an external website. In this case, I'm going to go to Atlassian without the wiki, and we will save those changes. And then we can go into the link groups. And if we edit Aspen, now we can add Jira. We'll put those two next to each other and save. All right. So now I'm going to restart Jira, or not restart Jira, restart LiDA. And let me switch over to that. So it's starting up. So this is going to load up and then display the new home page. If I sat there long enough, it would refresh and show it, but easier to just trigger it by starting and stopping, so we don't have to wait 5 or 10 minutes for it to show up. All right, so now we can see we've got our Aspen documentation, we've got our Jira link, which I may have named the icon incorrectly, so test. There, yeah, it's saying I named that wrong, so I mistyped something in there. Or you can use the uploaded one, so Grove and the Aspen documentation have those. Clicking into those then brings you out to a web browser, which will then go to, in this case, Jira. Obviously, your library would go to more interesting links than that. So this will load up. Jira takes a minute to load. Yeah, great functionality to be able to do kind of whatever you want with that homepage. Looks really nice, so looking forward to getting feedback on that. Our next thing, we're going to stay in LiDA, and these are some self-check updates. So this is DIS 1915, which was sponsored by CLEVNet. They had added some confirmation messages to self-check. So here, let's go back to, so here's the self-check. So we have a couple of different completion messages. We've got ones for books and DVDs. What we added was the ability to say, do they require confirmation or not? So let's just go look at these. So we've got our book, which is just made up a generic message. So we're just saying this checkout's good for 3 weeks. You can get it whenever you wanted. And for DVDs, so our DVDs do require special handling. We do have to have them unlocked at the circulation case to and have the security tag deactivated. On this one, we're going to require confirmation. So let's go back to LiDA. And we're going to go to Scan and Go. For my account. And we're going to type in barcode. So the first one, so this is a book. So we're going to add that item. And we get our message that says this checkout is good for 3 weeks. We also updated the styling a little bit to make that more obvious. And then we're going to do another one that is a DVD. We're going to add that. And we get a notice that then we have to confirm. So the intent is to make sure that patrons know that, yes, we do need to go to the circulation desk or the gates are going to beep. So that's great functionality, help patrons out. The last thing I want to show is some user list pagination, and SWAN sponsored this. So and this is DIS 1848. While we were testing some of the functionality related to list groups last time, we found a user that had several hundred lists, which took a little while to load. So we've added pagination for lists. So we can see we still have our list groups here. In this case, I think this one has 27 lists within it. So we get a pagination where we can click in and go to the next. So just nice functionality to be able to, to go and paginate. So things load a little bit faster, a little easier to find. So great functionality there. We're gonna flip to discovery now and go through some of those changes. All right, so we're back in discovery. Share has sponsored quite a few changes to make Aspen a little more accessible, a little easier to use for people that are tabbing through controls and that kind of thing. This is DIS 1847. So I'm gonna first show just some of the tabbing. So if we look at this, we can see just the border's a little more obvious as we tab through. It's a little easier to see things. We also, if you notice, as we tab, I changed the focus and lost my tab. As we tab through things, normally we would hit these dots. They do the same thing as tabbing through the actual list. So we removed that to save a step. And then people can keep tabbing through. So that helps with people doing that. We also have the more accessible layout that is in, I'm gonna go back to our browse. So in our Aspen site, we've set it up with the accessible. And as we tab through, just that tabbing works better. Previously, there were a few areas you couldn't hit. And the improved borders will work everywhere, just to make it more obvious. We also added a new focus color, so you can change the focus color. So if we decide that blue is still too subtle, we could make, let's go with like an orange color. Do like a light orange. And you can choose the width as well. So we're going to make a 2 pixel border. And this is just applied to my Aspen theme. So if I go back here to Aspen and refresh, now I get an orange border, which may or may not be more or easier to view depending on your contrast and colors and that kind of thing. But then you can choose different ones. So if you've got a dark theme, you can have a different focus color. So really good for people that need additional help navigating Aspen. So thank you to Share for sponsoring that. Next, we have DIS 1921. This one I don't have a demo for. So I'm just going to talk about it. Let me go back to the release notes while I talk about it. I will try to record a demo for this after we deploy to our test servers. Our partners with test servers are getting their servers updated tonight with 26.02. This is DIS 1921. So this is fixing the automatic confirmation during the material request hold process. So with Polaris, some holds require a confirmation. So it's things like, hey, this is checked out to other people. Do you still want to place a hold on it? When we see those, if requests are, when you have materials request, if the request is ready to place a hold, if it requires confirmation, we're going to automatically confirm it for you. So this functionality was sponsored by NOLS. Good functionality, and we'll have a more complete demo of that later. Next, we wanted to show we have some improvements to sharing functionality. Let's go. Oh, I jumped ahead as well. Okay, so next we have DIS 1810, which is the ability to search admin settings. So this is sponsored by WYLD, and on our administration homepage now, we have the ability to search either pages. So if I wanted to say, like, I just wanted to see facets, we can search our pages there, which filters the information on screen, which we've had for quite a while. But if we want to search settings now, we can choose search settings. And instead of showing the pages, we're going to get a list of all of the places where the term facet appears for a setting. And that might either be the label or the description or any notes that apply. So this is a great way to be like, I know I need to configure my facets. Where all might I need to touch these? So we can see that we've got, okay, our library system facet label. We've got facet labels here. So clicking onto any of these will take you to the, so like if I click on this, I'm going to go to the grouped work display settings. And then I will have to go into it. So because we frequently have lots of things, we can't take you straight there, but we get you there as close as we can. So really excited about that. It's going to help it's going to help me daily. So like if we want to find local admin or local ILL, we can find all of the places where local ILL is done. These are also responsive to the permissions you have enabled, as well as the modules you have. So here in my demo, if I go to my admin home, and if I search for facet as settings, I will get more than I did when I searched the other. Or if I search for, yeah, so depending on what you have enabled and disabled for various things, you will get different values. So really cool, very excited. Thank you to WYLD for sponsoring that again. Next, we wanted to look at DIS 1236, which is cloud source searching. This was done in conjunction. So SirsiDynix actually sponsored this. CloudSourceOA is their product. And it was done for CLEVNet, but Sirsi actually sponsored this. So that's very cool. If we go to, so we now have a new, let me go to my settings. So let's see where all we need to configure cloud source. Okay, so there we go. We can do cloud source. It is in, we've got our cloud source OA settings. So here we can set the information about where it is, who it's enabled for, and that kind of thing. Then within, should be able to search. Yeah, so it is here under articles and databases. So right now, all of these kind of systems we're calling articles and databases. We may, we'd love feedback on if we should start calling those more specific things. But originally they've all been called articles and databases, and we kind of continue that trend. So we're going to search now for solar panel in our articles and databases. This works a lot like EBSCO or EBSCO host. You get your search results with all of your different formats. So we can say I'm looking for a journal article that has been peer reviewed that is in English. And then if I go through and I'm very interested in the aerodynamic and structural analysis of a solar panel. So we go into that, and then we can click more info to actually get to the publication. So the nice thing with CloudSourceOA is all of the content is open access, so anybody can get to it, which is amazing and nice. These can also then be added to lists, and you can create browse categories with them and collection spotlights. They can be combined with other elements on a list. So like if you really want to do a browse category and list about solar panels, you can do books and articles that patrons can get easily. Next is DIS 1456, which is the ability to freeze holds immediately. This is going to work for all ILSs. This was again sponsored by Share. So let's go back to, we're going to go back to administration. So enabling this is kind of a two-part system. So we're going to go to our library systems. And I'm going to go into my Aspen configuration. And then search for freeze. So there's a new option to offer immediate hold freeze. We're going to turn that on. And save those changes. All right, now I'm going to go back to my Aspen. I'm logged in with Patron, so I'm just going to do a search. Oh, we're going to search the catalog. And we'll place a hold on Pride and Prejudice because it's here. So, oh, and I did not do the thing that we need to do. So right now, we have the ability to automatically freeze a hold. We have not enabled it for this patron. Because this is kind of an advanced functionality, we thought not enabling it by default was the right way to go. Largely, we think this is going to be staff and power users. So under preferences, we now have the ability to say prompt to freeze holds immediately. The patron has to turn that on and update their preferences. Now, if we just do another search, and let's go, we'll do something different. We're going to place a hold on Wonder. So we'll place a hold there. We get the option now to freeze this hold immediately, and you can pick the day when you want the hold thawed. So I can say, I'm not going to be ready for this until the end of the month. I'm reading too many other things. Let's do that. Submit the hold. So it submits the hold and then immediately places or freezes it. So if we go now to our holds, and look at, we'll find Wonder all the way at the bottom. So this is frozen until February 27th, and then we can thaw that hold. So when we talked about this at the gathering last time, it was super popular. There were lots of people that really wanted to see this. So we're very excited for that. So thank you again to Share for sponsoring that. And again, this does work for all ILSs. The next thing we have is the ability to update sharing. So this is DIS 1877. So let's go back to our library settings, and we're going to go into Aspen again. And we're going to, so under full record display, we now have different options for sharing. So previously you could only share to, so if you enabled sharing, it would automatically enable sharing to Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and that was it. So we've gotten feedback that some people are like, yeah, we don't really want to maybe let people share to Twitter or share to Facebook or Pinterest. Like those just aren't in our community important. So we have the ability to enable those individually. So I'm going to, let's see what those look like. So here, let's go into Wonder. So here's our sharing options. So we've got share on X, Facebook, Pinterest. The general share is a new option. So this just copies an email or copies the URL, and then you can use that anywhere. So somebody could use that to text it to somebody else, to email it, to put it in their favorite chat system, put a link on any of these services or any other one. So if we click on that, we're just going to get a message that says, hey, the link for this has been copied. And then if I delete my URL and paste it in, that's the new one. Not that exciting because it's the same one, but if you did it in a list of search results, you'd see all of those. If we turn off, so let's turn off Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest, and we'll just leave that generic sharing link. We can do that. And now when we refresh this page, we're going to see just that general sharing. We could turn off the email as well if we wanted to, so that you could just share the link with that page. And Gail Borden sponsored this, so thank you to them for sponsoring that. Next, we have some self-registration updates for Sierra. So these are Sierra-specific changes. These were sponsored by MCFLS. And so we'll just go into self-registration. We're going to go to our self-registration form. We have a couple of new options. This is just my local test machine, so hopefully it's not too slow today. These are DIS 1919 and DIS 1913. All right, let's try this again here. Let's see. My local machine might be acting up today. We will record a demo for this later. Basically, the two things that it is doing for DIS 1919 and 1913 is when you register for a library card, you have the ability to convert the city to a drop-down list based off the municipalities you have defined. So if you're allowing people to register for 30 different cities, it would display that list and allow them to pick from that rather than forcing them to type it in. And then the other thing is when the self-registration is submitted, you have the option to not have the comma between the city and the state. Okay, I'm not sure why this has taken so long, but let's see if we can get in there. Self-registration forms. This is trying to reach out to my debugger, which I have disabled. That is why it is so slow. Okay, there we go. So self-registration forms. There we go. So we have new options now to say, generate your city dropdown and disable the city-state comma separation. So if we save those, The one that's going to be obvious is the city drop down. And so if we refresh this page now we get our list. Oh, and we have to agree to our terms of service. But now we get our list of cities, which you can't see, but we have the option to choose between those. So got that. And then when you submit the city state, it just will not appear with comma in Sierra. Next, wanted to talk DIS 1317, which is improved Aspen API documentation. So this is available from support in the API documentation. And what Miranda added on this was the ability to change what API we're looking at. So to make it a little easier to navigate so we can see what documentation has been done for lists and system API, all of those things. So nice functionality to help as we continue to build out our API documentation. The last thing I want to show is DIS 160, which is user list sorting. And this is sponsored by Nashville. So we've forever had the request to be able to do more with user lists and be able to say, I only want to find available things, or I only want to find these formats. I think I was talking with Nashville and they said this was the first response or first request that they got when they moved to Aspen. So it's nice to have this in there. So we're going to look first at a book that's something of everything. I've added a bunch of different stuff to this list. So if you have multiple types of things on the list, there is the ability to filter those. So in this case, I've got library materials. So I've got a couple of books. I've got 4 books. I've got some journal articles from CloudSourceOA. I've got some events coming up, or some that were in the past. I've got variety of lists, anything that you want. So assuming we have all of those, we can then say like, well, I don't currently want to see my cloud source, or I don't want to see my events. And then it will get rid of those. So we just see our library materials and our lists. Oh, and series. So I've got some series on there too. So let's get rid of those. Once we get rid of everything except library materials, now we have the ability to filter. So we're going to get the traditional facets that we have everywhere else. And we can say, I only want to see things that are available online, or I only want to see nonfiction things on this. And then it will go through and filter. And we can see that, okay, we've only got 2 things that are nonfiction books on my random list. Let's go to another list that has more things on it. So, good ones here. So let's go to our Reading is Magical. So we've got 56 titles on this list. Because this only contains library materials, we automatically get this. So we can say, okay, we only want to see books. This is our test server, so the available stuff. Most things are available on our test server. So we want to see books for juveniles that have a subject of graphic novels. So we can easily filter through that. So really cool functionality. Everything that you can do with search results apply here. The same facets currently show on the lists page as do in search results. So you don't have to configure those twice. all of the additional functionality. So right now, if I choose to print this, so let's print. This is going to open a new window, so let's open that. So printing is going to respect what we had set. So we only see the titles that are available there. For some reason, my scroll bar doesn't want to work on that. So let's go back to it, to a regular. If you email the list, it's only going to email what you have selected. Citations, same, export to CSV, export to RIS. All of those things respect whatever filters you have set. If we clear these, there are a few things to note.
Mark, we can't see your screen when you shared back.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so all of the tools that are available in terms of, like, is it back up yet? Yeah, it's back. Okay, so in terms of emailing lists, generating citations, exporting to CSV, RIS, those all respect whatever filters you have set. If you have applied filters, there are a few things that will go away. So creating a spotlight and adding to the browse category go away. So right now you can't add a filtered list to a browse category or a spotlight. Also deleting all items, we thought that would be kind of confusing if you had filtered, because delete all items means delete all items on the list. But if you filtered it, it would kind of make sense that delete just meant delete all the things that you have active. So we can see if we filter, so let's filter down to ebooks, those options just go away. So we no longer get the collection spotlights, and we no longer get deleting all items. The other thing, if you are sorting by custom sort, so this is just where you can kind of control the order yourself. We're going to get rid of our filters. With that, we're able to move things up or down, or if we edit, we can change the position. If we apply a filter, you can't move those up or down or change the position. You can still edit or copy to lists, add notes, that kind of thing. But because we're not seeing everything, like what does move to position 1 mean? So we're just making it easy to kind of not get yourself in trouble with those. The other thing to point out is when we did the sort by, there are new sorting by, so previously they were called sort by available and sort by number of copies. They both did the same thing, so we combined them to just be available copies. So I can say sort these by available copies showing the most first. Again, this is a test system. It is not that exciting. Everything is pretty much available right now. But then you could sort something to say, show the things that kind of you have the most of that are available. That is something that we could promote to search results if we wanted to, although that could be confusing to patrons. So that's available now. And then, yeah, all the rest of the stuff just works. The other thing that I'll mention that may be obvious, but is worth noting is we did consolidate the toolbar so that it doesn't wrap. It used to kind of get a little bit unwieldy. So we combined things to make it a little bit easier. So that is everything for Aspen Inside Scoop for 2602. Thank you to everyone who contributed development hours, and we're super excited to get this out. Again, for Grove hosted libraries, this is going to be on your test servers tonight, so that it is available for you tomorrow. We are looking forward to having everybody test and start taking a look at it. We always love your feedback. We've got the full release of 26.02 is February 24th, the evening of the 24th, so it is available on the 25th. So we'd love all of your feedback for this. Yeah, I think that's it for Inside Scoop. We can stop.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.